the 3 cats, but the dogs are locked up in the dark and the cats are outside. And I remember to move the litter box, so we'll see. Then I'll let everybody out again because, oh my God, it's lots going. There's a lot of commotion when they're all out, but they're super sweet. But yeah, this is Donna's office.
So we'll get on with the show. Would be good.
Yeah, we're ready. Oh, we're live. Hello. Yes, I do have a different background. I'm at my friend that I go horseback riding with at her house. So, boy, have you ever been to therapy or coaching and you want your partner or significant other or spouse to come with you and you've not known how to do that, or you've tried and it didn't work? Barry and I are going to give you some solutions about that today, right, Barry?
Indeed we are.
Yeah. So this is, oh, she took it away. Cece, don't do that. Put it back. Thank you. I can't do it without it. Newsstreamingnetwork.com, WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, radio, TV, and podcast, #1 internet singles talk network. And this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine.
I guess I'm a little discombobulated today.
Well, that location shift could cause that.
So I've had this come up quite often with clients because one of the things people tell me when we're talking is they say, how come I have to go first? And I said, because I'm talking to you. And boy, if I could beam it to the other person, I could charge so much more money.
Yeah, I definitely have the experience of working with my clients who are singles usually, about past experience where the challenge has been that they wanted to get support and help, which is what they go to therapy or guidance or coaching for. But the partner didn't, and that's one of the reasons they broke up. And so this conversation also talks a lot about, you know, the divergence of paths that people take. Now, I'm a big fan of you know, with coaching, and I mean, I've been in personal development for 4 decades, so I'm very clear that getting support outside the relationship, yet outside my own life, is tantamount to necessary for me to live my life fully and be expressive. So, absolutely, in a relationship, the same thing's true. But I know a lot of people who go, once we're in a relationship, nothing changes. So, yeah, it's an interesting conversation to have.
And I have a brand new couple that they want to talk to me separately and together.
Okay.
I've often had somebody start and then we'll do the together. Yeah, if that's what you want to do, well, I'm fine doing that. It works for me too. Because what really was clear for him is that he knows he has some of his own stuff he wants to work on, and he wants to figure out some more stuff about himself before he brings it up to her, which I thought was very masculine, because you guys like being your best self in front of us. So doesn't that just show that's what he was thinking, that he realizes he has some personal work he wants to do as well as some couple work? I knew you would admire that.
It's definitely something I respect, absolutely, because it's something I would do too, because there's a level of, it's almost like, to some degrees, and I'm going to be careful I say this, there's some degrees where basically if you want to work on your own personal stuff because there's some things you have from past relationships or from your own history that really, you don't really put in your partner's lap, but to do a counselor, coach separately, so that when you are doing the work together and the couples work together, then that's not part of the conversation. So I can understand the benefit of that. At the same time, there is the feeling of like, well, no secrets sort of thing. So you can, there's 2 flavors to this to a degree.
For sure. And certainly when you figure out what is the challenge for you and work through it, often it's such a shorter story to share with the new person and to say, I tell them that part of the reason you went and did this separate work is so that you could be a better person for them. I mean, because that's really the truth generally. And also, when people, it's such mixed feelings when people say, well, I want to hear about their past relationships, but I don't want to hear this part of it. But you don't really know what part you don't want to hear till they've now said it and they can't rewind it. So I think working through it, do your single work, your personal growth work, and then often, you know, there's going to be couple work that's going to come up. But to get it to, it's now a past tense story. It's not my current baggage that I'm bringing into the relationship. And sometimes they aren't as aware of it until they've gotten in a relationship. So then if they want to get help, how nice for that.
Absolutely. And of course, one of the biggest pieces of this as well is that when you have issues come in the relationship, oftentimes it's tied to stuff in the past anyway. So you can't really avoid it in some ways. So it's almost like when you're working in a couple with a coach or a counselor, therapist, or you're working with, sometimes the issue you bring up, especially if you take, which I recommend highly all the way through, take ownership of your own stuff rather than just blaming your partner, because that's not part of the healthy way of doing this. You may go, hang on a second, this is one of the things I dealt with 10 years ago, or when I grew up as a kid. It's like, so sometimes our own history becomes the crucible that we do our work in, that our new relationship is birthing or unearthing for ourselves. So that's one of the things I think is an important thing to realize, that sometimes when you're doing work together in couples work, your partner is the one that was gifting you the reflection of something you hadn't resolved yet. Not they're doing out of spite, but just because of their presence, that you then had a chance to look at something in the mirror and go, oh, this is my stuff to work on. And she was, or he was, kind enough to show me that's what I hadn't resolved yet. So in a way, you can't really avoid having it done as a couple. So yeah, it's useful to have a couple relationship that grows and thrives, so you can have this sort of experience.
And to know it can be something ongoing, then it's not something taboo, because if we go, oh, you have to go to therapy, there must be something really wrong. And I said, gosh, yeah. Don't you go to the doctor generally, I do, once a year to say, I feel pretty good. What do you think? Yeah, you've seen good. It was a good checkup. Or, there was some little thing I wanted to talk about, because generally I show up when there's a big thing. I don't, it's not the once a year thing. It's when the big thing shows up.
Right.
So I do this, just you're having a check-in. Oh, there's this thing that came up. Is it a big thing? Is it a little thing? Is it something that I need to work on? Is it something we can work on together? I love those kind of check-in meetings with people. I admire them. I think they look more fondly and more impressed with the other person when they do that, because I love when you said you can think kindly of the person who does it. So we'll hope that they meant it kindly. And we'll just decide it was a kind thing to happen, because we get to work on it despite or because of the delivery, right? I loved when you said it that way, because I thought, oh, it's not all the time.
Well, true, it's not. It's a lot of reasons relationships break up in the first place, because people aren't willing to own their own part of the relationship, and stuff becomes an issue. So they start using their partners as target practice to like shoot, throw darts at their partner, versus saying, hang on, this is my stuff, not yours. So let me work on my own stuff. And yes, go together as therapy if you want to go to coaching, but do it with the clear intention what you both want to get out of it. Because it may be we're going together because of your stuff, not because of our stuff. And it's like, well, why not go for your own stuff as well? Because in fact, I'm going to spin it another way, is that we talk about this oftentimes. We go to see coaches or counseling because there's something wrong. But what if you go to coaching or counseling because you want to improve the relationship you already have that's going fine already? That's a rare ask, I know, but for some people, they recognize the power and the benefit of getting guidance and feedback to tune, to refine and improve the relationship they have. If you do it together, there's such, frankly, the idea of choosing to go together to improve your relationship you've already got, that's like very sexy to me.
It's my favorite. It's not the majority. I've certainly had a few who said, we know we could communicate better. It's good. We know it could be better. We keep hearing how it could be better, but we don't really have the tools. Oh, because it's less work for them, because they're not starting out as a negative. They're already starting out in a good place, which is lovely. And then you just get to build on top of it. But if they're in a negative, we'll see. Can we turn it around? Sometimes, lots of times, yes, not always though. But they part in a better place generally if we've at least sorted out why they really aren't a match. That's why there's this problem. It's not something that's solvable for the two of them at all.
Yeah, and the thing is, I've talked about this a lot in my other interviews and on social media posts as well, about when you're between relationships, definitely a good time to do the work, especially if you've got stuff unresolved. But the thing is, if you go as a couple to see a coach, you might leave a relationship without stuff unresolved. You might find yourself actually leaving the relationship where everything's cleaned up and you're fine, and you can move on without any sort of agenda or any sort of baggage, which frankly will be an unusual experience for a lot of people.
So what I have found is one of the common ways that you can help your partner consider, with sort of at least not a negative attitude about joining you if you're already talking to one of us, is you're just better in the relationship. The person I'm talking to, you're more kind, you're more patient, you're more eloquent in what you're saying, you're more free and willing to say your truth in a different way than you've ever said it before.
Yep.
And how could they not notice? Because I'm sometimes a secret and I don't care at all. I'll tell you, most of my clients tell people. I have one that I said, I know you're not using it on purpose, but isn't she impressed? He goes, she's really impressed. Like, I went to a dating coach before I started dating her.
Yeah.
So yeah, the right person's going to think it's so cool. So if you can be the person that's on your own, you're uplifting your side, wouldn't the other person be kind of curious about what's going on?
Absolutely. And in fact, one of the things that's useful as well, that sort of plays into some degree, is that when you are going to see and get support from guidance, inspiration, next steps, homework from your coach, bringing your partner along too can sometimes be a good resource, because you say, you know, I want to grow through this and make myself a better partner. I'd love you to be there as well, because not only can you be there to support me in the process, but you can also remember what was talked about, so you can be my feedback system and be a neutral and caring feedback mechanism for me, so that I know when I'm on track and off track. And that can be a wonderful gift to give each other too. Again, opportunities, relationships, when you start to grow, can be very sexy, frankly.
It's really, it elevates the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So the other way it happens is the other person still thinks it's probably not them, and they're really going to be excited that you're going to be better and they won't have to do much. So my carrot that I dangle is have them come once, because they can really give me their side of it. I want to hear their side, because it's always, I mean, mostly it is a little bit like they're very much in different relationships. I had one recently that I don't know that I want to work with them. They're in completely different relationships. You would just, there couldn't be more difference. It's really quite amusing and not very good. Generally, but there's her side and his side, or his side and his side. I've coached a couple of gay couples, and I really want to hear their side. I want to hear how they're perceiving my client. I want to hear how they're perceiving the relationship. The other thing I tell people is, because I get referrals within families and friendship groups too, is I'm a vault. Nobody will ever know that you're working with me if you don't tell them. It's never going to come up. And when you come to talk to me, I don't care how much or little I've talked to the other person, you're a brand new person to me, because I don't know your story.
Yeah.
And when they get those assurances, okay, I'm going to help them, because most people, is both men and women, she's going to like her more, or him more. She's heard I'm a bad person. And I have no energy about that at all. It's not my relationship. I can make up my own mind when I talk to them, but I don't make it up ahead of time.
This is, I'm saying the fine line, but it's a real clear line that we both walk on and work with, is that confidentiality, try the word English, is much easier, is key. It's also fundamental, because there is a level of respect and trust that has to be there. And, you know, yes, we do sometimes use our clients' experience as talking points, but we don't refer to who it was, because we obviously learn from our clients as well as we get from our own experience. So the understanding that whatever is said is kept in confidentiality, even from their partner, if they don't want to talk about it with their partner. That's something that not all coaches and therapists do, but it is kind of the rules that we play by, because we understand the integrity and also the vulnerability that can happen by sharing. So you want to make sure, I feel like we want to make sure that we create a sacred space and a safe space that can be shared, so there is nothing leaking out of it. And part of that also means that the clients will be willing to trust that as well. And if the client wants to talk to their partner, or the client wants to talk to the other partner, they're both clients, ideally, when you work in that relationship, but they want to share it with them, that's absolutely fine. It's also good to have a communication, so that the coach knows that the other person now knows this information. So there's no like, oh, I can't say that because they don't know about it. So it's like, there needs to be communication and trust all the way around in this conversation,
I have a lot to keep track of.
Yes.
Good thing I'm good at it. I really do have a lot to keep track of. And I'm really going to take credit, as you do too, that people do trust me with their most inner thoughts and feelings, and know that I don't have judgment about it, and that I don't share. Right. And it's funny how they'll eventually like tell the friend that referred them, oh, I've been talking to Christine, and they'll go, really? And yeah, good. Verify that I've not said one word to anybody because
Mhm.
because it wouldn't serve anybody. I don't want my therapist telling other people about me. I'd certainly send her lots of referrals. So being the trustworthy person that we are is something that needs to get established right from the beginning. And then it's like, the first you listen to people's words, and then you see their actions in any kind of relationship, that they
Yep.
see that you and I would never betray anything they say ever, because we wouldn't have a job then.
Well, I wouldn't have to be with myself if I didn't honor that. There's a level of integrity that I value in my own life and trust in myself that I have to maintain with other people. Otherwise, it's like I can't do my job. So absolutely, that it becomes important that way.
I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. It's just
Right.
not who I am. My friends all know that I'm evolved, so of course I'm evolved for my clients.
Yeah.
But what if they don't? They really don't. They say, absolutely not. I don't believe in it. I don't think I have a problem. I don't think you should just go get fixed. Please come and keep talking to us, because you will figure out, can you stay? Can you stay? Can you personally work out your stuff? Because sometimes, not as often, but sometimes we really are, we often need each other to heal. I really believe that happens a lot. We have a wound, sometimes the same, sometimes different, and we put somebody in front of us that's going to make it obvious, poke at it, and we go, oh my God, I have to really do something with this. And then how nice if both people can be in a healing partnership where both people heal, whether they stay together or not. And then every once in a while, there's one that they're just not ready. It's not their time. Still use it as a catalyst.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's so many good things that you still want to stay and you can work out how it's still good enough for you, great. And if you find out that it's not, which is often what happens, you can leave in a really elegant way, that it won't feel so crawling off in a corner or you're feeling like an ogre, because it's self-preservation. That's what I think of all this. Because if you're going to stay, you need to stay as your best person, and you want to see how good can they be. And then if you need to leave to be your best person, then you can know why you're going to leave. Because not everybody's willing. They're not ready. It's not time. They've had too many other things that have gotten in the way of, I can't go get help. I'm not crazy. I'm sure you've heard that, all those things.
And more, yes. This is quite a bit. And the thing is, it is a red flag for me as a coach to see one person wants to see me, but their partner won't. There's a disparity. Now, with a caveat, again, similar to what you're saying, oftentimes somebody is deemed such a traumatic thing that their partner says, you go see a coach, go see a therapist, please, because I want you to get healed, and then come back to me, sort of thing. So it's not like they're refusing to go, but they feel their partner needs the support more directly than they do. But if it's a case where the person says, you know what, you go get help, I'm fine, I don't need any help, that's a red flag right there. There's like alarm bells going off, because like somebody says that, it's probably lying through their teeth because they're afraid to face the fact that they may not be perfect. And that becomes one of the challenges, that when the person who does come see me as a client, they may have to figure out, as you said, same thing for you too, is that, do they really want to be in this relationship? Because the lack of trust and the lack of equality can be quite disruptive to the relationship and dysfunctional. So you really got to choose for yourself. Do you want to be with a person? If you're somebody who chooses to grow, like I said, I love doing personal growth work. I'm very selective now, I've done so much of it, but I want to be with someone who's at least done something. It doesn't be the same thing I've done. Otherwise, we don't have a common ground. So again, like, if you're going to go see a coach and get support to become better at being yourself, the person doesn't want to go with you, you're going to get further and further apart. It's going to be this challenging part in the relationships. That's actually one of the chapters in my book. I talk about that. It's the rubber band effect on relationships, and that stretches too far, and eventually it breaks if you don't stay on the same level. So you've got to be really willing to look at that from a clear and neutral place, decide how far you want to go with this relationship.
Such an important distinction.
Yeah.
So if this has piqued your interest at all, Barry and I would really like to talk to you about how you could reach us. So one of the best ways to reach me is to go through my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. You scroll to the middle of the page and you'll see a What's Holding You Back from Love questionnaire. Click on that. You fill out 10 brief questions about where you are now and where you'd like to be. And then it'll give you access to my online calendar, and you can schedule a complimentary conversation with me. You can also send me a personal private email at Christine@theperfectcatch.com. And how would they reach you, Barry?
Similar to Christine, I have a website and a way to get in touch with me. So my site is my name, barryselby.com. And on the top of the screen, I have a button that says Let's Chat. And if you click on that, it'll take you to my calendar with a form you can fill out, similar, not the same as Christine's, we have different approaches. But you fill out the form the way that fits to you, and you get on my calendar. We'll have a 20-minute conversation, a discovery session, a friendly chat that basically helps you clarify where you are. And I can see if I can help you, and we can decide if we want to work together or not. And it's really a mutual decision on doing that. Similarly, you can also email me at barry@barryselby.com if you want to reach out to me directly. And we'll tell you more about everything else at the end of the show, but that's enough to keep you going for now. And right now we take a break.
I love the mutual decision. I'm going to certainly add that to my repertoire.
Yes.
So now we're going to have a station break from this wonderful station that we're broadcasting on, and we'll be right back to talk about how to include your partner in your coaching experience.
More to come.
Yeah. Hi, we're back to Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry, and we're talking about how to include your partner in your coaching experience.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder how many of you have had that happen where you've never thought about it, or thought about it and you didn't know how to ask them, or you asked them and it didn't work. So Barry and I are talking about how to fix that. I turned off the light thinking it would be better, but it wasn't. So, yes. So I think part of what you could do when you're talking to your partner is, especially if you started working with Barry or I, is to point out, if they haven't seen, what are the benefits? What has improved, do you think, in your life? What's improved in your relationship with them? What do you see their response? Start out by complimenting them on the experience that's happening between the two of you because of the coaching. I mean, wouldn't that be enticing for somebody who said, wow, really? That's why all this has been happening. I like it. I'd like more. Okay, you keep going. And then how do you get them to participate, right?
Yeah.
That's the question of the hour.
Yes, and it is a challenge sometimes to explain in a way that makes sense to your partner how they could jump in and be part of it too. And in a way, it is a good way to use it, to use your experience to talk about what you've learned, what you've grown through, what you're no longer doing as a bad habit, for example, or what you've changed, how you operate in the world. And frankly, your partner hopefully notices these things without even saying anything. So basically, when you come back from working with your coach, your partner's like, I like the way you are now. I'm like, I want, because in fact, it might even be self-inviting rather than you have to tell them to come do it. Because what can happen quite often is when the partner goes, I love what's happening for you. I'm really glad our relationship is growing because of this. I want some of that too. It's not common, to be blunt, but they might really say, can we do it together? Now, that can be music to your ears if you're somebody who chooses this sort of work. But it's not the most common experience, unfortunately. So how you invite your partner to be involved in coaching. And of course, part of the inclusion can be that you've got new skills you're working with. And so you may have your partner do those with you, regardless of the coach you're working with. So you don't actually have your partner go with you to see the coach, but you include your partner in the homework you have, for example, from your coach. Like you might have some mirror work to do, or some self-support practices you need to do that you enroll your partner in to help you, remind you to keep you on track with that. So that way they do actually help you out with actually being another client with your coach. So I'm not saying you must have your partner with you with your coach. It's more about the benefits of the coaching in your relationship and how that works for both of you.
Yeah, it's interesting when I've had one person to talk to that's part of the couple and taught them active listening. It sometimes is awkward, because you and I've done it for a really long time, and it's awkward to do on your own, even though you've practiced with us. So that's another thing. I've learned this new thing, and this is how I think it goes. And do you think you might like it? And could we just go so she could, or he could help us, me do it with you better? And you could be a support for me. You could remind me when I'm not doing it the right way, that, oh, remember it's this way. And it's not a lie. I don't ever want somebody to lie to have somebody come. I want them to feel included. I want them to feel like because they are helping. They're helping their partner, who hopefully they care about, and they're helping grow the relationship. And what often happens, not always, is they go, "Oh, I can see there's a couple things I'd like to work on with my partner. Here's
Right.
some things I want to get better at. I want to get stronger at."
Mhm.
Because the whole broken that's so couched in certainly therapy, and it's kind of bled over into coaching too,
Mhm.
that you want them to feel like you're not broken. You're just going to get better. You're going to be more of who you are. You're going to learn new skills. I mean, the thing that I tell people is, and I know I've said it before, that when you look at those Olympic athletes that make everything really hard look really easy, it's because they have a coach every day for 8 hours.
Yep.
And they're really good at what they do. They just want to keep getting better. So that's the point of having somebody coach you about your personal life. How do you live better for yourself first? Because that's where you need to start. Better in your relationships in general with the people around you. And then in a love relationship, which adds a whole new layer of the vulnerability of your heart and your emotions and your soul. That why not learn how to do it the best possible?
Absolutely. And the thing that I love about this is that, like working, if you're an Olympic, if you're going to be an Olympic medal winner, you don't just want to just look at the coach until you get to like the Olympics. You want a coach that's going to get to the goal.
Yeah.
So even though they're doing really good in the last 16 or whatever it is of that particular skill set, you want to keep getting support and guidance from your coach to get better and better and better, so you become the number one, the best that there is. When a relationship, it's tempting someone to say, well, I've gotten 3 skills, I'm done. That's all I need to get right for now. Well, maybe, but the truth is, once you start realizing how much your relationship improves and relationship with yourself and your partner improves with these skills, wouldn't you want to get more of those, get better at them, practice them more deeply? Like you said, with the active listening, is having the willingness to practice to become more proficient and basically successful with it. So this is not something you sort of do one and done. It's like really about continuing to keep learning and growing and be better and better. Yes, I am saying you should go see a coach more than one time. But a lot of times what you see is you coach for 3 or 4 weeks, 3 or 4 months, and then you don't see him for a couple of years because you're working on what you've learned. Because some things you learn may change your life so radically, you want to take a breather and like, let me stay here for a minute and get this working the way it wants to work, and then come back for more. So it isn't like you're saying you must see a coach forever and ever, because some people do see therapists for 20, 30 years every single week. That's not what we're saying you have to do. It may work for you, but you don't have to do that. But reminding you that you have the opportunity to use a coach, a guide, a facilitator as a sounding board and as a resource to springboard you into more success in your life, romantically and energetically and everything else. So yeah, it's worth it. Absolutely.
And one of the challenges that lots of people do is they're pretty proactive and being their best self when they're dating and maybe in the honeymoon stage.
Mm-hmm.
And then Alison Armstrong has a new term that she says they set it and forget it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they just coast. Now, you can do that with your car. You need to maintain your car, the tire pressure, the oil. You need to keep adding gas if you want it to go somewhere. And I've used that visual for people in their relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is you're dealing with human beings that are going to change over time. We have different needs. We want to have it be talked to a different way. You go through an upheaval. How do you handle an upheaval? How do you handle some really special, fabulous thing that happened? That can just derail people. So going into maintenance is really important. Then, we've got it all figured out. We don't have to do anything different.
Yeah.
Generally, that doesn't work very well.
No, that's the challenge, is how you can really choose for you how to be a better partner, how you can choose for the relationship, how you can be a better relationship, and how you can choose to keep thriving. Because the terms we used back in the day, like, you get together and you settle down. Those aren't really good terms. Down and settling aren't two ideal words for a successful relationship. It's like you want to level up, not settle down. So it's hard to do that on your own. And to really, there's other words I was thinking of that came to mind as well about relationships that are really surprising how people use those terms and they are so not positive. But recognizing that when you get into a relationship, you are ideally choosing to improve yourself and the relationship every single day. I mean, some people do choose to be in a relationship where they settle down and don't do anything. But I think people who listen to our podcast now and watch us really learn as they watch our episodes ways to improve their own relationships. So they're, I would say, not necessarily hungry for it, but certainly curious and want to keep learning, and they're deciding to take value into their lives they can use, which is why they watch and listen to us every week. Hint, hint. But there's also the sense that you can accelerate the process when you start doing some deeper work. And frankly, every relationship is an opportunity to show your best self. It's an opportunity to be the most loving. It's an opportunity to receive the most love you've ever had. And it's the most opportunity to have the most joyful, fulfilling experience you've ever had in your relationship if you're willing to do something different than they did in the last relationship. So this is why we talk about this in such detail.
So you're being proactive in the beginning, and you continue to be proactive. So I'm sitting in the house of the person that I go horseback riding with every week, and her and her husband are married 62 years this year, and they still think they're fascinating. They still think they're the most fun person to talk to at the end of the day. And they both, and my brother and sister-in-law who've been married 49 years this year, they both keep saying, I keep learning stuff about them. Yep. There's new stuff to learn. Because when somebody says, oh my God, I'm afraid as I'm dating somebody, we're going to run out of things to say to each other, you're the wrong person. Because here I'm telling you, almost 50 and over 60, they've still not run out of things to talk about. And so if you're constantly growing and doing the maintenance and having a coach that you can check in on a regular basis, we get you jump started, and then you just come back going, okay, I need to up level. I need a new thing. That it's not that there's anything wrong. And it's certainly, people say, is it going to be exhausting? I go, I find it energizing to go, what's the new thing? What am I going to get even better at? What new thing am I going to learn that's going to make this even more fun? I mean, they really do think they're the most fascinating, fun person they've ever met. Not all the time. That's not, he's alive. But most of the time, and I've spent lots of time with both of them, most of the time, they think that the other person's just the cat's meow.
Love that. And
isn't that nice? It gives people hope, right? That it could happen.
But I want to spin one thing slightly differently what you said, because, or I should say clarify one thing, is that the idea of improving your relationship over a long period of time can also mean working with a coach. You know, you maybe have a coach you see once every month or once every 3 months, not something you do every week, because frankly, once you're doing pretty well in your life, it's more about, again, just like maintenance versus like, major repair. If you are facing major challenges from past relationship breakups or stuff that's in the early part of this relationship that needs some major work, yes, go see a coach, ideally with your partner, once a week, once every couple of weeks for a while to get things moving, like spinning the wheels before you get off the training wheels. But as you get better and better with the training wheels anymore, then you may just tune up like once every month, once every 2 months. We just have a check-in call with your coach. So that way you're both, it's like, we've talked about this in shows before about having a state of the state in relationship, having a check-in with each other like once a week or once every couple of weeks in the relationship, just to see where you are and what you're navigating with. Well, why not up-level that and have that with a coach who can be your one tell me he's from grad school, neutral observer, where basically they're not judging or biased either way, because that's the thing, our work, we don't get biased either way, just in case people are thinking that. But that we can reference back and speak back to what we heard, and also give you guidance that can say, well, let's improve or up-level this. So the opportunity when you're in a relationship to use a coach as you need to over a period of time can really be an amazing aid to make your relationship more fulfilling, more joyful, more whole, and more long-legged, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it's a very healthy way to look at yourself, that you're always learning, you're always growing, you're always wanting to know more, do more. And it's not that you're doing anything wrong. Don't you want to learn how to do stuff better? People want to get better at pickleball, they go take lessons. They want to get better at a language, they hire a tutor. So that's all it is. You do this thing till you get better at it. And then you're like, okay, what's the next step? And then do that until you're better at it. And it's really been fun to have people come back with different things to do. When I see them show up on my calendar and it's been like 6 months and I'm like, oh, I wonder what they're going to ask this time. It's actually kind of fun. It's kind of selfishly fun, I was going to say, because I know it's all about them, but I sure enjoy it.
No argument. But one thing also, the the tune-up, that piece is just such a cool thing to have, is that next step to take to really keep improving the relationship. And there was something else you said, and it just gave me a thought. It's like, will it come back? It may come back. I don't know. We'll keep going. Trust that stuff. Is that really, when you're in a relationship, it is, oh, that's what it was. Yes. There's a part of us that believes when we get into a relationship, everything's going to be perfect. Everything's going to be fine. We have this fairy tale vision of relationship. And then the hard reality sets in where you start realizing, oh, it's not the way I wanted it to be. It's not perfect. And some people, they go, okay, next, move on to the next relationship. The reason we talk so much about our work and in the shows and what we do about coaching is because everybody has opportunities in their relationship to get better at being a better partner, whether they're single or in a relationship. So in this conversation, we're talking about how to be including a partner in your coaching experience. The presumption is you're already choosing to see a coach yourself. But if you're not, here's a little tip. Your relationship experience will get better when you get guidance from somebody else outside of yourself. And yes, sometimes your best friend may be the way to go, but frankly, most of the time it's not, because they're looking through a lens that may not be as experienced or as neutral or as centered, because they're looking at you as your best friend. And so your partner wouldn't be good enough for them, sort of thing. So this whole conversation is really about choosing to be guided by somebody who has both your interests at heart, and that really is in it to win it for you, so you can have the best relationship you can have. So it's, and again, just to what I said a bit earlier about this, is a lot of people don't think they need to get coached. They get in a relationship especially because they've had, they look around at life and say, well, in movies they get to do it, and on TV shows they get to do it, so I should just be able to fall in love and be fine. And then they wonder why it doesn't work. And if you've only watched any of our episodes, you know why it doesn't work many times. We talked about that. But in this instance, I want to make sure you get the point that it's really good when you have a partner to choose to go see someone who is neutral, who's not invested on one side or the other. So you get ideal support on both sides, and you can really have the opportunity to have a relationship that thrives.
I think you have tied that up very successfully in a beautiful bow, Mr. Selby.
Thank you.
I will say that in the movies and the TV, they have really good teams of writers. That's why it looks like that.
Indeed.
So if this has piqued your interest at all, I think that this is going to be a very popular subject, because either you want to go to coaching or you really want to get the other person to go to coaching. So if this has piqued your interest, Barry and I are here to talk to you about it. We would be so happy to help you. Let's start with you, or if you both want to come. So as I said, go to my website, sign up for a complimentary call with me by clicking on the questionnaire. You can also join my mailing list from there, and you can also download my book that's all about dating advice. And at the moment, I'm working on a book that you're going to pay for, but right now you get that one for free. And if you scroll to the bottom of that homepage, you can click on all my social media of Facebook and LinkedIn and Pinterest and Instagram and YouTube and LinkedIn. And please feel free to send me an email at christine@theperfectcatch.com and tell people how to find you in the rest of the ways, Billy.
Yes. Well, as mentioned at the halftime show, the halftime break. On my site, there is a chance to get in conversation with me and have a link, get on my calendar, and also you can email me. But also on the homepage of my website, there's two things. At the bottom of the screen is a direct way to get into my email list. You just opt in right there without doing anything else. Just put your name and email in and jump in that way. In the middle of the screen is my quiz. And there's two quizzes I have on my website. One of them is you click on the middle of the screen where it says take the quiz, which is a relationship readiness assessment. So if you're thinking about being in a relationship, you're not sure, take the assessment, because it'll give you clarity and some answers on what really works and what doesn't work. And you'll get to clarity on that. Additionally, there's another quiz which is being scrolled across the bottom of the screen. But if you're listening to the podcast, I'll tell you what it is. It's barryselby.com/self-quiz, because the self-quiz is you may have guessed it, a self-relationship assessment. Because if you're single, mostly, if you're a couple, you do it too. If you're single, it really gives you a chance to look at 7 different areas in your life, I should say 7 different areas in yourself, where there may be room for improvement, and maybe what working, what isn't working. You also get a nice downloadable PDF, gives lots of tips. So both those quizzes will be useful for you if you're single or a couple. Social media wise, you can find me on all the platforms under my name, Barry Selby, except for Instagram, which I'll get to. So it's Barry Selby on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, and Pinterest. I'm not using X anymore. And if you want to follow me on Instagram or Threads, it's The Real Barry Selby. And I've done 27 or 28 90-second video clips I've been posting. We've got another 6 or 7 to go. So if you want following those platforms, you'll see my posts all over the place. So check out my stuff and reach out for help if you need it.
Perfect. And we are always here live at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern on Thursdays. And if you want to see us on the replay, you can see us on video on Roku and YouTube. But Barry, they can take us with you and just listen, right?
Absolutely, because our show is now an audio podcast. So you can take us with you wherever you go, whether you're in the car or hiking or riding a bike or shopping, whatever you're doing. And so you can find us on the usual podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts as well. And if you listen to some other platform, you can do it, I think, was it Google? I know. There's so many podcast platforms. You'll find us wherever you look for Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. You'll find us and you can follow us there.
And if you're hanging out with your friends, you could introduce us to them. So we'd like you to share and like and leave us a review and show up every week and watch us. We would be so grateful because we'll have another fun subject next week.
Oh, yeah. Every week's up to help you get better in a relationship. That's why we're here.
Yeah, that's why we're here. It's what we live for.
Yep. See you next week.
Bye for now.